just to make sure it works. Okay, looks like we're good. Alright, like the title says, we're taking a look inside my garage. So, let's get started, and this is going to be kind of a long one, because I've got 128 vehicles to go through here, and holy shit, do I have opinions. Okay, so let's get started. First off, we have the T1E6X1 with my 6 years of service stamp on there. This was a free tank, might still be with Xbox. Little tier 2, full auto gun, real fun to use. And the next, 5 tanks I believe are all the same, just different paint jobs. This is why one of my friends was talking shit to me about there being 4 Spa Panzers in the game with this new season pass. The difference here is that these come in the Christmas lights pack, where you get these for like $10 or $5 to $10 for like, I think it's 15 maybe for 5 tanks. So you've got the Fox, which is orange and black, the Hornet, which is yellow and black, the Kraken, which is blue and black, the Python, green and black, and the Viper, which is red and black. So, not a whole lot to say. There's no real difference between these tanks except the paint job. They've got a nice full auto gun on the front, and pretty good tank at tier 2. On to the Locust. This little bugger's fast. Real fast. You want to go fast? This is what you use. Tier 3 tank. Pretty good. Then we got the Blitzen. Christmas tank. This is a fun tank to use. Nice decorations along the side there. And here's the exact same tank, except not Christmassy. They're nice, tier 3 tanks. I do like these. M5 Stewart. Don't know why I was grinding this. Don't know why this is still in my garage. We'll deal with that later. Rover 237. Yeah. I had to. I just had to. This tank is all sorts of fun to play. It's fun to look at, and when that Hot Wheels track comes back, it actually looks really good on that track. So, by the way, I am glad we got rid of that Hot Wheel track for the Halloween stuff. Finally. But yeah, this is a pretty fun, pretty solid tank. The Lycan T71. This thing is ridiculous. Tier 7 tank. Auto-loading gun. Meaning it's got a really good fire rate. This is a pretty decent tank in all honesty. And it can be a bit absurd, especially when you're hunting artillery. Artillery beware. T2 medium. Why the hell? Never mind. I think I have this just to play with with friends who are new to the game, who are playing like tier 1 and 2. But I don't really have many of those anymore, so I'm about to just pitch this in the trash. Ram 2. This thing is solid. Tier 5 tank. Real fun to play. Can be hard to kill if you know what you're doing in it. M4A2E4. It's a Sherman. Anybody who's talked to me about tanks knows that if it's a Sherman, I want it. Hello, Ripper. Hey, guess what? Another Sherman. Cool paint job, though. Do like the paint job on this thing. The Sherman tanks are generally just fun to play. They tend to be great all-around tanks, so I tend to play with these quite a bit. M4 improved. It's, I got this tank for free, not gonna lie. Haven't really played it too much, but, you know, later, when I don't have to deal with contracts and challenges, I do know from what I played that it's a pretty good tank. M4, A3, E8. My personal favorite type of Sherman. Has a nice gun on it. Again, anyone who's talked to me knows I love the Sherman, so... M4A3E2, another Sherman. Yeah. Not saying it again. The Fury. Can you guess what type of tank this is? That's right. It's a Sherman. I have a lot of Shermans. Do I even need to say it? Do I even need to say it? I feel like I don't. It's a Sherman, but with a little better armor. That is all. The M46 Patton KR. I mean, this tank's pretty fun. It's pretty fast, actually. Has a decent gun on it. And pretty good for spotting. The Undertaker. Yes, the wrestler. We had a WWE event a while back. This is one of the tanks you could get with it if you bought the season pass. I bought the season pass just to get this tank. The Undertaker is one of my favorite wrestlers. This is a pretty good tank. I've had a pretty decent run in it. It would be nice if they made it one of the Halloween tanks, because Undertaker, pretty scary dude, real big. You can see here that it has coffin lids attached to the back over the exhaust there. It has his urn, a chair with his symbol on it, a tombstone, and his hat. I've got my personal one adorned with his symbols. It has his symbols on the front. Oh, and there's also a shovel right there. I love this tank. I really do. Oh, and there's another shovel. The Stone Cold Steve Austin. Arrive, raise hell, leave. And extra points if you know what Austin 316 is. And if you don't, shame on you. The Stone Cold Steve Austin is a pretty good tank. Nicely decorated. Has a couple of chairs there in the back. And it has the skull he used as his symbol right there on the back right over the engine. T-14. This is a pretty fun tank. Nice armor. decent enough to get you through some tier 5 matches. It's a decent tank all around. If you don't have one, I would suggest picking one up. They're fun to use. The Minuteman. This thing is a beast. This thing is an absolute beast. If you don't have this, you need to get it. Not only for its looks, but just because this is a mean tank. And it looks really good. It's got a golden gun here on the front. It's got the snake there on the side. That's it. That has a little banner that says, "Don't tread on me." I personally put some little snakehead emblems on there and a inscription which says, "All gave some gave all." It's got a whole kit for cannons there on the back. Because, you know, Minuteman. And I also put on the "Don't Tread on Me" flag. T-32A Proto. I started out hating this tank. But the more I used this, the more I started to like it. This is an auto-loading heavy tank at tier 8. It's fun to use. It can actually bounce some shots thanks to that sloped front armor. And it can deal some damage. Lots of damage. In a real short amount of time. Hey, good news, guys. We're only 12 minutes in, and we're probably not even halfway through this. Or even a quarter of the way through this. Bog Horror. Halloween tank. This thing is... Some people say this tank is bad. I say this tank's pretty good. This can be a real mean tank in the right hands. It has pretty good range with that gun. You know, you would honestly think that due to all the foliage and moss growing all over this tank and the vines and things like that this would have some decent camouflage rating, right? Nope. It has a concealment of 3. Despite literally being covered in moss and vines, it's easy to spot, so I really don't know what to say about that. I really don't. But this is one of the monster tanks you get near Halloween, or you can get anyway. And when this thing wakes up, it'll have eyes all over it. And this will awaken for the Halloween event. The Jackson. I was grinding up to something in this, but I've dropped that recently. I forget what I was grinding up to for this. Hellcat 105. Tank Destroyer. It's fast. It's aggressive. It's mean. I got this for free because Xbox sent me a code for it. Otherwise, I probably would have never bought it. This tank cannot take a hit. But it is fast enough to get out of any situation, and I do believe it has a fully rotating turret, but I could be wrong on that. I don't play this one much, in all honesty. Scorpion. I have only managed to play this tank a handful of times. This tank is ridiculous. It has a good gun, but we're going to take a look at the armor real quick. Most of it is made up of 1mm of armor. The most armor you get is 10mm, and that's just the tracks and the gun's barrel. and the only part of it with 5mm of armor is that little frontal plate there that covers the that kind of protects the crew, I guess. Kind of. But if you look, the crew is just sitting there. 1 or 2 high explosive rounds, if they don't kill you, will kill your crew in its entirety. And if you guys want to know how to counter this tank, because this is a pretty fast tank and it can get out of some bad situations real easy. Roll up behind it, and there's its ammo rack. Exposed. Right there. The M56 Scorpion, guys. The Bone Shaker. Holy shit, the barrel's long. So this is one of our new Hot Wheels tanks. I've only played this one for 2 or 3 matches, but I do like it. I'm not much of a tank destroyer player anymore. I used to be back when I first started, and I was pretty good at it. This is actually a pretty good tank. It deals solid damage. The frontal plate is hard to get through. If you've seen the video where I talked about the problems with the Hot Wheels tanks on the YouTube channel, you know my main gripe with this tank is the fact that this skull here is painted on when it should have been chrome, and it should have covered like the whole turret thing there. But, you know, it's a minor thing. This is overall a very, very pretty tank. It's got that flake paint on it. It's a nice blue that kind of turns purple. It's got nice flames painted on it. And if you've noticed, if you've watched the YouTube video where I talk about the problems with the Hot Wheels tanks, they fixed it. They put the Hot Wheels logo on the tank. It took them like a week or 2, but they did it. Thank you, guys, for actually listening to me complaining. Talking to you, Wargaming. Oh, and every time I get shot in this tank, it seems to either be right in the very clearly marked engine. Yeah, thanks for sticking headers on this thing, guys. Or directly in its super long barrel. So I either can't drive it, or I can't shoot it. That's always fun. The M7 Priest. This thing is a nightmare when you're playing low tier and you don't know anything about artillery. If you're a new player, this thing will ruin your day. The Equalizer. How to ruin someone's day at high tier. Because this thing doesn't just fire a single shell like most artillery units do. This one fires 4 shells at the same time. And rains hell on anything in that radius. Oh, I feel bad for anyone who gets stuck against this tank, myself included. Because this absolutely wrecks house. It really does. It's a very nice design for a tank, though. I like how it has like a radio there on the side. How it has a helmet there with the Ace of Spades in it. That's a real thing that they did in Vietnam to demoralize Vietnamese troops, by the way. They would leave a card, the Ace of Spades, on Viet Cong corpses. And it's also got the American flag here. Covenanter. I was just grinding something out. Forget what I was grinding out with this. I'll come back to this later on. Maybe. If I ever get around to it. The snake bite. What can I say? This tank is hilarious. Look, I'm always telling my friends who play, don't be pulling some Dukes of Hazzard shit. But, if you want to pull some Dukes of Hazzard shit, this is the tank you should use for it. Because, good God, this thing is fast, and it can jump. This is a fun tank. This is a really fun tank. It's fast enough that I've managed to just rush past an enemy line with like 5 people in it, get to the artillery, kill both of their artilleries, find a tank destroyer, blow him up, and then get out of there without getting killed. Oh, and then chase down another light tank with it and blow that straight to hell. In the same game. The Becky Lynch. I don't know who she is. I really don't. It's a nice design for a tank, I guess. Like, the paint job and all that. But I don't know who Becky Lynch is. I know she was, women's champion or something in the WWE. Or is. I don't know. But, again, this is one of the, WWE tanks. Apparently, she is the man. Whatever. I don't like this tank in-game, but it looks nice. The Sentinel. I bought this because it's an Australian tank. And I was talking shit to one of my Australian friends, saying I would buy this tank just to see if it could beat an emu. Because they lost the emu war. Good job, guys. But yeah, this is a fun tank. Tier 4 medium. Fun to use, actually. I like this tank. I don't get to use it much. Matilda Black Prince. Now we're up to the ridiculous shit. This tank sucks to fight against, but is so much fun to use. Because this thing hits like a fucking train. Like, the amount of damage this thing does is absolutely ridiculous. And if you're stuck against one of these and you are below tier 5, or even at tier 5 really, I've been taken down in tier 6 with one of these things. So, because this thing can play up to tier 6, I believe. Yeah. This thing plays up to tier 6. I've been taken down in a tier 6 by one of these things. This tank is mean. It's ridiculous. It's slow as hell. It's got a mobility of 5. And let me see if I can show you what that looks like. Its maximum speed is 22 kilometers an hour, so it's a bit on the slow side. But its gun is ridiculous. The Frostbite. Hey guys, can you guess what kind of tank this is? If not, it's a Sherman. I think. It might not be, but it's an M4, so close enough. This is a Canadian tank, if you couldn't tell, from the maple leaf there and the Canadian flag painted across it. And this is one of the flag tanks. Flag tanks are cool. The Boilermaker. This is a Firefly Sherman. It's a British tank. It's got its tracks there on the front, or its treads. On the side, on the turret. And if I'm not wrong, let's see what size this barrel or this shell is. because it's big. It's a 17-pounder gun. Meaning when this thing fires, it's firing a 17-pound round at your ass. So, yeah, this is a mean tank. Real mean. Cromwell B. This is a fun tank. That's all I really have to say about it. This one's fun to use. Pick one up if you haven't. Use this tank. Do I have to say it again? Sherman VC Firefly. It's a Sherman. It's a good tank. It's another Firefly. Jackal M4A4 FL10. This tank is fun to play. Fast gun. Hard to kill. It's a Sherman as well, with a different turret on it for some reason. But it's fun to use. The Centennial. Centennial T95. Okay, so, little backstory on this. When I originally got this tank, and honestly, to some extent, still to this day, this tank was a nightmare. Because thanks to those sandbags, it was hard to pin, and it still is. Because that frontal armor is sloped as hell. I mean, up front, on its own, you've got 85 millimeters on the top there, and you've got another 8 millimeters of spaced armor there on the front. So this thing's hard as hell to penetrate from the front. It's a very pretty tank. This was done for 100 years of tank combat. Because when this was released on like the 100th anniversary of the first tank. The Atomic Centurion. This is one of my favorite tanks to play. So, if you guys are wondering exactly what the hell happened to the turret there, and why there are little beat up spots everywhere on this tank, and why the front covers there over the tracks are missing. They decided to put this in a nuclear test zone and then drop a nuke on it, and this tank survived and still functioned, but was slightly radioactive and highly sandblasted. So the Centurion is a badass tank, and I do love using this tank. The Huntsman Centurion. I mean, it's literally the same tank as my Atomic. No reason to say anymore. It just looks a bit more modern, I guess. The Inferno Chimera. This is a beast of a tank. In the most literal sense possible. This is one of my favorite tanks. It's got a hell of a gun. Has the front half of a lion. The horns of a goat. And the back half is that of a snake. And if you look closely, sticking out the top there is a spear. And if you're wondering what the significance of that spear is, we'll get to that here in a minute. But this is quite an amazing tank. This is another one of the monster tanks. I love this tank. The Bellerophon. So, remember when I said we'd get to the reason there's a spear in the top of the Chimera. We're getting to that now. This is Bellerophon. That is a spear. The myth is that Bellerophon fought the Chimera and killed it while riding his Pegasus by taking a lead-tipped spear and ramming it down the beast's throat. So this is the counterpart to Chimera. This is just another Centurion. It's a bit of an upgrade over the regular. But it is a Centurion, so it is a pretty good tank. Now, just like the Inferno, this here, one of the parts I love about Inferno Chimera is the fact that it has this lion head plate here. That's the same reason I absolutely love Bellerophon. And I recently just got this tank, and I have been waiting all year to get this tank. This is the main reason I'm doing this update. And it also has his shield back here with the Pegasus. You can see his cape there on the back, over his exhaust. You can see a little Pegasus there, and a little Pegasus there. I put the hero's inscription on the side, and a Centurion helmet right there. So let's get on to the next tank. Oh wait, before I do, you also have the Greek, I think it is, painting there, and a pair of shields, I believe those are, serving as top plates for his entrance. Oh, and on the side panels, you have the wings of the Pegasus, which light on fire and come off the tank when this thing wakes up for Halloween. You'll see that when I do the Halloween stream. Excelsior! This is actually a pretty fun tank. Not even gonna lie. I haven't played this one in a while. I've been wanting to get back around to it, but I've just been breaking myself on contracts, so haven't gotten around to it. The Tog 2! This is a ridiculous tank. It's got a badass gun. But good God. If you can't tell from the sheer size of this thing, it is slow. With a top speed of 14 kilometers per hour. So, the reason this thing is so slow is the fact that it was built for World War II. This thing was built for World War II. Or, for World War I, sorry. This thing was built with World War I in mind, because why not? This thing was obsolete by the time they built it, or finished prototyping it, or whatever. British Bulldog. This is another fun tank. It's a Churchill. Moving on. The Paladin. You got the unicorn on one side, the lion on the other, the Fear Not banner on both sides, and the Union Jack. What more do you want? This is a good tank. Why don't you have this tank yet? AT2. I'm grinding something in this. Totally not going for the Death Star. Just saying. Yes, I am. Excalibur. I picked this tank up and have not had time to play it. Sorry, I don't have an opinion yet. Diamondback. I picked this tank up, had some time to play it, and I have mixed feelings about it. Which is sad. This is a good tank, sometimes. But this is also a bad tank, sometimes. And God, and whatever God you believe in, may they help you if someone gets behind you in this thing, because you're not surviving. Sexton 1. Thing wrecks shop at low tier. Plays up to tier 4. This is actually a pretty good artillery. Low tier artillery, anyway. LTR. This is a tier 1 tank. I forgot to remove this from my garage, that's why this is here. Panzer T-15. Panzer Kampfwagen T-15, sorry. This is a, this is just something I got for free out of some little starter pack that Xbox gave me. Haven't used it, I don't play low tier much, so it's whatever. Pick it up if you want one. The Holland Hund. Another Halloween tank. If you can't tell, Halloween is my favorite, holiday of the year. I love this tank. This is a beast of a light tank. From what I understand, most people consider this and the Lycan to be the two best tanks you can get. And it does live up to its name of being a hellhound. This is able to run you down and light you the hell up. And then send you to hell. Tiger Shark. One of the tanks I was complaining about. Because it's just one of the 4, Spa Panzers that they put in the Season Pass. For some reason. Don't ask me why. I don't know. Panzer S-35. Panzer Kampfwagen S-35 739F. Yeah. Long name. Tier 3 tank. Don't play it much anymore. It was fun while it lasted. But I don't use it anymore, so it's whatever. Girls und Panzer. If you've seen the anime, you know why I have this tank. The whole anime is about, like, high school girls fighting in tanks. And that whole idea was hilarious to me. I found out they put this in the game, and I was like, yeah, I'll take that. Thank you very much. So yes, this is an anime tank. If you haven't seen the anime, go watch it. It's actually pretty good. It's got a really cookie-cutter plot, but it's just glorious. Panzer Kampfwagen 4. I'm not even trying with this name. It is literally the same as this tank here. The only difference is this one doesn't have a paint job on it. Crafts Panzer 4. So this tank is... I like the look of this tank. It looks damaged. It's just got a really nice paint job on it. Some nice foliage there on the barrel. Nice foliage here on the back. What can I say? I like this tank. Oh, and I love the barbed wire here around the turret. Look, if you ever want to score bonus points on a design from me, put barbed wire on it. That'll pretty much get you the bonus points. Panzer 5-4. This is the Ram Panzer. If you want to ram someone, this is the tank you use. Like, forget the gun. Charge them full speed. See what happens. And if you do charge them full speed, I guarantee you, the person you're charging full speed will probably fucking die. Panzer 3K. Not sure why I have this. Don't know where I got it from. Just know that I have it. It's a tier 5. I think it came out of some starter pack. Panzer 4S. The Germans put a fence on their tank. All jokes aside, this is a pretty fun tank to play. I can recommend this one. Revenant Craftsman. Another Halloween tank. Again, favorite holiday. This tank looks beat to shit. The whole point of this tank is it's supposed to be like a zombie tank. During Halloween. Because this is, like I said, a monster tank. It awakens during Halloween. And I just love all the small arms and shell damage all over this thing. Like, it just looks amazing. And it's got foliage all over the barrel, and, like, stuck in places. This tank is just nice to look at. I'll be honest, this tank is just nice to look at. Panzer 58 Mutts. It's got a bear on the side there. It's a pretty nice tank. I forget when I got this one. And yes, this is a long-range type of tank. Tier 8 medium. Plays real well if you know what you're doing with it. The Dread Dozer. Another reason I made this update video. This thing is fun. It's a tank with a bulldozer's plow on the front. It has spider webs all over it. I know someone personally who probably wouldn't like that little detail. And I put a little spider emblem on there. Has a little engine header up there in the front. And I do believe the engine is actually there in the front. Which means if they punch through your bulldozer plow for somehow, which most of the time, by the way, people can't punch through that. That is sloped. They're going to have a hard time getting through it. This tank is just fun to play. It bounces shells all day long as they're coming from the front. The captured KV-1. This is a pretty fun tank, actually. And I do believe this tank serves as a double crew trainer, meaning you can do both Germans and Russians in this thing, because it is actually a Russian tank, but it was captured by the Germans. So I believe both crews can use this tank, meaning this one's really, really versatile. Tiger 217. I have not had a great run with this tank. I really haven't. Then again, I don't particularly care for playing Tier 6 much for some reason. Well, that's a lie. I do like playing Tier 6, but only with Shermans. When it comes to the Tiger, I just don't have fun with this tank for some reason. Don't know why. The Sturm VK 36.01. This tank's gun is just purely mean. Its gun doesn't like you, or the person you're pointing it at. It can bounce shells real well. I've survived some shit I probably shouldn't have survived in this tank. I love the painting on the turret here. It is red, if you can't tell thanks to the lighting. And I just like this tank. I really do. It's a Tier 6. For some reason. Tier 7. The Hammer. This is my favorite Tiger, I believe. I just love the paint job on this thing. The German flags down the sides and on the turret here. Love the stars. And I do really love that it's just got a bunch of heavy tank symbols there on the sides and on the front here. The King Tiger. This is not considered to be a great tank, but I like to look at it. I like this tank, in all honesty. If you hate this tank, that's fine. You know what you can do with your opinion on it. I just love looking at this tank because it's got damage all over it. You can see all the little small arms fire. Someone probably tried to shoot it with a rifle or something, or a machine gun. It's got its replacement turret up here. Got foliage on it, which, by the way, extra points for that. And it's got a chain down there at the bottom of the tank. So, it's just a visually pleasing tank, in my opinion. The Roger Dodger. Another Hot Wheels tank, actually. And this one actually gives me Cyberpunk 2077 vibes. So, it's got its little neon kit there. Turret ring is lit up. The, little fence thing here is lit up. And its exhaust is lit up. This is just a nice tank to look at. I do like playing this tank. It's got all sorts of glowy bits to it, which you normally don't get in this game. It's got that flake design on it too. That flake paint. I do love that. And if you're watching this and you didn't know, I do collect Hot Wheels from time to time. If I find one I find interesting. Usually it'll have this flake paint on it. I'll buy it. Because I like Hot Wheels. The Hidden. This tank just pleases me in so many different ways. I love the fact that it's got it's like got a camo tarp up there, and it's using rubble as camouflage, like bricks and just pieces of building that it's run through or something. Love the fact that it's damaged. I love battle damaged tanks. I love battle damaged anything. Like when I was a kid, and yeah, we're going off topic quite a bit here. When I was a kid, they were selling these, battle damaged Gundam figures. I could never find one, but I wanted one so bad, and honestly still do. Because it was just like a torn up, like the armor on the Gundams was damaged, it was torn up. Like, they just looked really cool, and I can hardly find anything about them online. like early 2000s. So those are just difficult to find now, and I guess that love of the battle-damaged Gundams made me love battle-damaged tanks. The Dicker Max. Now, you guys have heard of Big Dick Energy. This one has maximum dick energy. I was skeptical when I got this tank because I got it for like 1,000 something gold. Real cheap. This tier 6 tank destroyer wrecks shit. Absolutely wrecks shit. Like, I have one-shot tanks with this thing before. This thing is a beast. The Steyerwaffentrager. I haven't played with this one yet. I've played against this one, and it hurts me every single time I play against it. I have regrets every time I stumble into the sightline of one of these things. I have immediate regrets when I step into the sightline of one of these things. Because the instant I do, I'm usually dead. I'm going to, let you read that first line for a minute. And figure out why this is in my garage. Read it? Good. It's a Sherman. Of course it's in my garage. This tank, I got this in a bundle. I got this in some bundle. I do like playing this tank. I mean, it's got sandbags on it, so it gets extra armor. A bit of extra armor, anyway. It's just a fun tank to play. It can deal some damage. It can deal some pretty decent damage. It's good from a distance. It's not all that fast, but it's a heavy tank, so... you know, it's just a pretty decent tank. The Nomad. I don't like this tank. I know people love this tank. I know people who have talked shit to me for not liking this tank. I don't care. I don't like this tank. I just have this because I got it out of a war chest. That's the only reason I have this. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't be in my garage. It does have nice camo on it, though. I'll give it that, and I do love the little clover there. But that's all it really has going for it. It's an auto loader, so I guess that's cool. But to me, I just don't like this tank. Andre the Giant. The only tier 10 I own, despite having played this game for 6 years. So, if you can't tell, I did complete the, season pass, because this was the tier 100 reward on the premium track, and this is a really good reward. I like this tank. I don't play it much. I've played, like, 2 or 3 games with it, I believe, but it's a good tank. It's got some decent firepower to it. It's a big, heavy beast of the tank, just like the man it was named after, Andre the Giant himself. And it hits just about as hard as you would expect that man to. EAMX 105 AM. Yeah, I was just grinding up to the... I honestly got this for an achievement. That's all I have these for. These next 2 tanks. The AMX 13 AM. Again, achievement. Called Trebuchet. I'm not even trying with that name. I'm not going to. Again. Achievement. All that I cared about when I got this tank. T-46. I just have this to play with some low-tier friends. That's all this is for. That's why I have this. Valentine 2. Twitch gave me this, actually, for free. Which is why I painted up with the Elite Amethyst Twitch camo pattern, the Twitch symbol, and a flag that has the Wargaming symbol on it. T29, I believe I got this in where did I get this? I believe I got this in some bundle. This is a pretty good tank. Tier 3. Honor T28E with F30. Okay, there we go. This is just a nice looking tank. I believe I got this out of a war chest. So didn't pay too much for this. Paid like $5 for the chest, I believe. I got it on that pool, so I can't complain. I like this tank. People talk shit about this tank for some reason, but I like this tank. The Fighting Girlfriend T-34. If you don't know the story of this tank, look it up. Because it is an absolutely amazing story. And I'm going to tell you a bit about it right here and now. So this tank was commanded by a woman whose husband was killed in war. And she basically bought this tank with her own money. And she used it under her... She signed up for the military or something like that, and basically said to him, I'm going to use my tank, and I'm going to be in command of it. And they said, okay, cool, go for it. So, yeah. Look up the story of this tank. Unfortunately, the commander of this tank was killed because she was shot by a machine gun while she was out fixing the tread, which is something she would normally do, because anytime the tread would get shot off, she'd personally jump out of the tank and go repair it. T-3488. This is a nice tank. This is a real nice tank. And I believe I have 3 variants of this in my garage. If me having 3 variants of the same tank doesn't tell you something, then I'll just tell you what that means. It means it's a good tank. Soviet bias, guys. It's Soviet bias. This is a good tank. Just trust me on that one. I love the little markings here on the barrel. All the little rust streaks on it. How it looks all worn out. I just like the design on this tank. T-3485M. Not the exact same. It's close. But, you know, still a good tank. Rudy. T-3485. So, this tank is from a TV show called 4 Tankmen and a Dog. Yeah, if you can't tell what the show's about, it's about 4 tanked men and a dog. And by the way, the whole reason I have this tank is because of the dog. Because whenever your sixth sense lights up, which comes standard on the special crew for this tank, the dog will bark. T-3485 Heavy Metal Hero variant. It's just a T-3485M. It's this tank here with extra armor. And yeah, it's got the same gun on it. It's just got extra armor, which makes it marginally better. This is like I said about the other 85M. This is a good tank. If you get a chance to get this tank, get this tank. The Motherland. Oh man, this is one of my main tanks that I use. It really is. This is a very good medium tank at tier 8. I love this tank. I love its camouflage. The white, red, and black just looks so good. And I love the little Soviet symbol here on the back of the turret. Just a really pretty tank. I love using this thing. It's a powerhouse. It can bounce shots all day. There's not a lot I have to say about this tank. Besides, get this tank. Churchill 3. It's another Churchill. I mean, it's an okay tank. I'm not as impressed by it, so. Bogatyr KV-220-2. So, this tank is great if you have the Bogatyr crew, which makes it pretty overpowered. I just like the design of this tank in general, in all honesty. The sword there. The gray or silver, whatever you want to call it, with the red stripes. I just like this tank. The bear. Okay, so there's a story behind this one. This one was given to me by probably my favorite Twitch... No, not probably. Definitely my favorite Twitch streamer. Nameless Saint, who does World of Tanks. He's awesome. You guys should watch him sometime. He could really use the subscribers right now because he's still recovering from the bullshit that was the mixer shutdown. Like that shutdown came out of nowhere. And he could definitely use the followers and the subscribers, guys. So, he does tank giveaways all the time. If you guys want to pick up a tank, go into one of his giveaways, follow him, and just watch his stuff. I love watching him. He's my favorite streamer on Twitch. I've played a couple games with him. He is cool as hell. The Dreadnought. KV-2. This is the Death Fridge. This is a murder fridge. That gun is mean. This tank is mean. This gun has murderous intent. When I say this gun hurts, it hurts. The Gorinich KV-5. This is a good monster tank. And yes, this is one of the monster tanks. So, if you can't tell, this is based on like a dragon of some sort. I'm not familiar with the specific legend. However, I do believe that it might be a Hydra of some sort. The Fatherland. I have not had a great run with this tank. Mainly because I don't know how to operate a tank like this, where the turret is all the way at the front of the tank. Plus, this thing has no depression on its gun, meaning any little bump in the road will screw up your shot and send it into the sky. You cannot depress this gun. It just won't happen. Someone please tell this tank a sad story or something. Please? Because someone went and gave this tank antidepressants. The KV-5. Just like the Greenwich, the KV-5 is a beast of a tank. In fact, they are the same tank. The only difference is the Greenwich has a better paint job. I have thoroughly enjoyed using the Greenwich, and the KV-5 is no different from it. So, if you can't get the Greenwich, but you can get the KV-5, just get the KV-5. SU-100Y. One of the older tanks this is probably one of the oldest tanks in my garage, because I got this when I first started the game. This is actually a pretty solid tank destroyer. It's a good sniper, it has decent armor, and it hits like a damn bus. SU-5, I'm grinding for something with this, but I do have something to say about this tank. Look at that little barrel. Look at the barrel. Seriously though, this thing hurts when it hits you, if it can hit you, because it has very low accuracy with that barrel. Somebody please get this tank some Viagra. The Dragon, yet another Halloween tank. This thing, it should be obvious what this thing is based on, because it's based on the Dragon. This is a Chinese tank. So you can't see it very well with this lighting, but the barrel of the tank is actually covered in like a scale pattern. It's a nice looking tank. I just don't like using light tanks at tier 7. Or tier 9, where it plays at. This is a tank I don't like. The only reason, I repeat, the only reason I own this tank is because I got it out of a war chest. I don't like this tank. I really, really don't. I could care less about this thing. The Ashigaru Teke. So, I got this for the 4th anniversary of World of Tanks. This was a free tank. It's a cute little thing. It's nice to have. I mean, why not have it, right? It's just a tier 2. The Senshi. Another flag tank. I got this during, I believe it was the School Wars event a couple years back. It's either last year or the year before. So, during that event, I was in the Kendo school. And what the event was about is you were randomly placed on a team. You didn't get to choose. I got put in the Kendo school, which is pretty fitting for me since I like swords, and if you've seen the YouTube, or if you're watching this on YouTube, You know I like lightsabers, so very fitting. And I got this tank during that event, and this is technically a flag tank because it has the Japanese flag draped across the back there. It's got a really nice paint job on it. The dust cover there, the leather dust cover, looks like a cat. It looks like a cat. I don't know why. It just looks like a cat to me. I did put some flowers on here, just to make it a little bit prettier. Oh, the kaiju. A lot of people hate this tank. I don't understand why, because I love running this tank. It's big, it's slow, it's mean. It's just a really nice tank in my opinion. But, you know, if you hate it, whatever. I don't care. I'll outplay you in it, probably. If you can't tell, because of the lighting, the paint job for this is cracked. It's supposed to look like Godzilla's skin. And it basically is Godzilla during the Monster Mash event, which is coming out soon. Near the end of the month. And, if you're wondering, the kanji here on the side actually reads Kaiju. The Primo Victoria. Damn, this thing is a work of art. I love this tank. So, if you're wondering, the Primo Victoria is a tank that is basic, or the design for this tank was made by my favorite band, Sabaton. And this is a Swedish tank, which is where they're from. This tank is just awesome. There's no sugarcoating it any more than it already is. It's got their symbol there on the side. It's got the Swedish flag there on the side. It's painted up with the same camo pattern that the lead singer uses on his pants when he's on stage. And if you look there, you can see some plates right there on the front, like in the middle. The shirt their lead singer uses or wears has these armored plates on the front of it. Just like that, all the way down. Another reason this tank is awesome. It's got the band's equipment there in the back, and it actually plays special music when you're using it. So this is just an awesome tank. I like this tank. I love this tank. It's my favorite band. It's a great tank. And it's a Centauri. What's not to love? Sav M/43. I'm just grinding out the Swedish tank destroyer line because they do have some pretty nice tank destroyers. Like the next one I'm going to show you, which is the opposite of stealth, by the way. This is a tank destroyer. It's meant to be a sniper. It's meant to be stealthy. And they painted the Swedish flag on it, which is bright blue and yellow. Yeah. Opposite of stealth, guys. But, okay, I see what you're doing here. It looks cool. It looks cool. In all honesty, this is a pretty fun tank. This is probably the only tank I own that has siege mode. And that's the only way you can actually really fire this tank. So, yeah. I love this tank. It's just ridiculous to look at. I've put the Swedish flag on the back there for good measure on a pole. This tank let's see how far. Okay. This tank This tank is tiny. This tank is hilarious to use. I will not accept that this is not a good tank. Just on comedy value alone. Just on comedy value alone. I love this tank. It's hilarious. It's tiny. It's fast. And if you actually get close enough to somebody, they can't shoot you. Oh, this tank is just great. I actually have a tank for sale sign on the side here. And this tank is so small that the shovel itself is nearly as wide as the entire tank. This is just a ridiculous little tank I got for cheap. Just on comedy value. I nicknamed it the Clown Car. Yeah, I don't know why there's an Italian tank in my garage. We are skipping this. The Thresher. I don't get to use this tank too much. I don't care for using this tank too much, is the way I should put that. It's a low-tier tank. I don't care for playing low-tier unless I'm running this ridiculous thing. Let's just move on. Lawgiver. This is actually a decently fun tank to play. This is one of the mercenary tanks, just like the Thresher is... Just like the Thresher. It's a decent tank. Not much I can say on it. Thunder Bucket. I mean, I only completed this contract because I like the design of this tank with all the extra armor and stuff. That's it. I like the shells around the turret. I haven't played it much. I just like looking at it, so I wanted it. Big Top. I have not had a single successful run with this tank yet. I just haven't. I don't know why. It seems to be mostly Sherman of some sort. I think that's the E8. I don't know why I can't use this tank as well as I can a regular Sherman. I just don't. Probably because it's playing like a lot higher than it should be. But, you know. Trinity Mark II. Good God, can I even get the barrel in shot? There we go. Yeah, long barrel. Really long barrel. This is a really good tank for long distance fighting. It's painted red, and I put a special camo on there to kind of break that up a bit. Of course, this camo is only on in winter environments. This is a pretty good tank. Trinity Mark II is definitely something I recommend you pick up. I do like this tank. In fact, this is probably my favorite mercenary tank. Or one of my two favorite mercenary tanks, anyway. So if you ever get a chance, pick this one up. The Cruncher. I like this tank. I honestly do. It's got some nice extra armor there on the turret. It's real good if you can get into a hold down position, because it is hard for an enemy to penetrate that armor, because that is spaced armor, and they gotta penetrate the turret to do any actual damage. And most of the time, it's just not going to happen for them. You're going to bounce shots like crazy. If you can complete the contract for this tank, complete the contract. This tank is worth it. The Needle. This is a weird tank. This tiny thing is a heavy tank. But it doesn't play like a heavy. Plays more like a medium or a light. It's weird. I don't know how to really tell you how to play this tank. It's just weird. I like the paint job on it. It's about as much as I can really say on it. If you're going to get this tank, there is a massive learning curve to it. The Deadbolt. I haven't used this tank too much. But the few games I've had with it have gone pretty poorly. Mostly due to poor team support. But, you know. The Absolution. My favorite of the mercenary tanks. This thing is a beast. At tier 6, for a tier 6 tank, this is a beast. This absolutely wrecks people. Its frontal armor is a bit on the ridiculous side. Its gun is powerful enough to deal with anything that comes your way. This is definitely a mercenary tank you need to get. This tank can be absolutely disgusting in the right hands. The Banana Buster. This is actually from a comic. And it's pretty fun to play, actually. The comic this is from is called Tank Girl. It's got a really nice design to it. Really accurate to the comics. Really nice paint job. I like this tank. I honestly do. Roundabout. You know, I'm a Norse pagan. So I had to pick up the Viking tank. I could not be stopped. I had to have it. It's a Viking tank. It's a tank destroyer. It does damage. It's fun to play. There's not a lot I can really tell you about it. It has shields on the side here of the turret. A Viking helmet there on the front, which, by the way, that helmet is not accurate. They did not... Most of the time, they did not have horns on the side of their helmets. Like, if they did, it was, like, very rare. Long bomb. It's a tank destroyer. It's a hull locked tank destroyer as well. I haven't played this one much. I don't care for this one. I just got it to get it in a contract just to say I did. And that is the end. All 128 tanks in my garage. And next time we update this video, or next time we do one of these updates, where is it? This will be in my garage. This is one of the tanks I've been wanting for a while because this is a beast. And there is one monster tank, or two monster tanks, technically, that I do want to show you guys while I'm here. Because there's one I don't have yet, and then there's one I'm probably not going to get. One, because I don't understand the price of this stupid thing, which is $22,000. and that equates to $100. So I'm definitely not buying this thing. If someone wants to send it to me, I'll gladly accept it, but I am not buying this thing. But I just want to show it off here. This is the Fanguella. It just came out a couple days ago. Don't know anything about it. It's another one of the Hot Wheels tanks. It has 4 treads, or 4 tracks, which is the first one on console that has this. I'm interested to see how that works, but I would be willing to bet that if they hit one of your tracks, it disables your tank from being able to move like all the rest. So, nothing special, I would imagine. I don't know that for a fact, but I'd be willing to put money on it. And then there's one other monster tank, which I can show you. Again, I'm not buying this tank. I'm going to try to earn it through the... There you are. Through the, little special thing they've got going on right now. Because you unlock one of these at tier 9 of the Monster Hunter event. This is the Wraith Panther. I don't own one. Yeah, Wraith Panzer, sorry. I kind of want one, but I'm just going to earn one. Because this is not high on my priority list. This really isn't. It looks good, but at the same time, it's just low on the list of things I care about in this game. Well, guys, that'll do it for now. And I think I'm actually going to start a second stream after this, after I have a short break, because this stream has gone on for nearly an hour and a half. So I'm going to cut this one here and call it for now, and I'll be back in a minute. Code Echo.